So in this video, I wanted to spend a few minutes talking about a fountain pen called the Rotring Esprit. This is a telescopic or expandable fountain pen that was sold in the mid-2000s. It is mainly sold as a Rotring Esprit, but you could also find it as the Parker Esprit, which is a slightly different design, but the same fundamental pen. So it comes with a case like this. This may not be available if you're buying the pen used, which is how most of them will come. But if you're a collector, it's pretty cool to find this. It's all plastic and has a little bit of foam in there. So when the pen ships, it is nice and safe. You can see the foam holds it up and keeps it from bouncing around. Nice to have, not a must have. And here's the pen. You can see it's not a large pen. These are 1/2 inch each. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4.5 inches, and then expanded, it goes to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.25 inches, call it. So not a huge difference, but definitely this is a normal size pen. Here's it next to, say, a TWSBI Eco. It's not a huge pen, but I would say it is normal sized. And then as you expand it, you have a pocketable pen. It's not a giant difference, but it's enough that if you're gonna throw it in a pocket or bag or something, you will notice it. Basics of the pen are pretty standard. Has some chrome at the top and bottom, has Rotring's trademark red ring at the top. It's very distinctive. Sometimes Rotring hides it more, sometimes they show it off more. This is one of the times when it definitely showed off more. The colors for the pen are, in this case, it's a kind of like a light metallic blue. I think it's in a black and a dark red, but the color selection is generally not great. That's not Rotring's strong suit. Metal clip, that's fine. It actually is a kind of a clamped on clip, but you would have trouble getting this thing removed, so it doesn't really matter that it's clamped on, just a sort of design element. And then past that, it's a pretty nondescript pen. To work the pen, you basically pull the two sides apart and the grip section pulls out of the body. What's happening here is that the hold that the cap has on the grip section is more forceful than the amount of friction between the grip and the barrel. And then if you pull a little harder, the cap will come off. Very plain cap. I believe it is metal. Yeah, it is metal. There's some provisions in there so it doesn't dry out, but it's a simple cap. It is important that the cap always clicks on really nicely, because otherwise this telescopic action is not going to come off with the cap. Here's the pen itself. Again, very plain barrel. It's really nothing there to it, but it is metal. Grip section has these sort of waves to it, kind of like a bamboo or like I don't know, sort of just these little concave sections. It's pretty nice. It is metal, and it's a little bit slippery, and it's hard to tell from the color, but mine definitely seems to be fading a little bit. This is I believe a new old stock pen, but it is from 2006, and it seems like just from holding it, there seems to be right here, particularly, you could probably just pick it up. It might look like glare, but it definitely does seem to be fading. So that's something to keep in mind. I haven't seen it fading anywhere else, but it kind of bothers me. Anyway, here's the grip section. It has these 4 little areas, and it gets a little bit narrower towards the bottom. The grip section goes in and out. I mean, I can't stop playing with the pen, doing the telescopic action. Like, it's just fun. Even though it doesn't feel that great, it feels fine. But it will never happen by accident. Like if you were writing with the pen up here, you could move it in, but the telescopic action is pretty firm, even though the pen has some use to it. And you don't feel like it never wobbles or moves on its own, so that's nice. It has a very standard Rotring stainless steel nib. I have it in a medium. Rotring nibs are, at least the steel ones, are all very stiff, and it's kind of like you're barely writing with a fountain pen because you have so little life coming from the nib. I'm not a big fan of Rotring's steel nibs. You know, they write, they're consistent, and they work when you need them to work, but they just don't have a lot of character. And this one, I would say it's an okay writer, but definitely, if you apply too much pressure, it starts to, it just doesn't want to write. Just, to me, it's not at all a great nib, and it's probably a good reason to skip this pen unless you're really into the design. It's a fine writer if you are just writing lightly and not really thinking about what you're doing, just kind of writing along. But as soon as you try to get a little bit of line variation or a little bit of pressure, the nib, for me, tends to just not break down, but just become a lot less interesting. To work with the pen or to open the pen up, you simply twist it and the two pieces separate. You can see it uses a short international refill, a standard international short refill, whatever you want to call it. You could use a Rotring refill or whatever. I have a Visconti blue in here. It works fine. The mechanism is a little bit hard to see, but basically inside this metal barrel you have plastic, and what we'll do is we'll push it in a little bit and unscrew it. You don't want to do that too far, but you could see what happened here is that plastic sleeve has pushed down inside the barrel. So something is definitely stopping the plastic sleeve from pulling out all the way. But that's what's going on, is there's a piece of plastic on the inside that is moving up and down inside the barrel, and the grip is moving up and down on that. So fundamentally, that's completely fine. I don't have a problem with that process or a mechanism in particular, but it is a piece of plastic. So if you're going to invest in this pen in the long run, I don't know if the advice is don't use it, or the advice should be careful, or it should be just like don't expect it to last the test of time. It's hard to say, right? This pen is from probably 2006, maybe 2008, somewhere in that territory, I think. And it's working really well. Again, I bought it new old stock, so it's not that had a huge amount of usage, but it's definitely an older pen. The pencil's not cracked and it feels good. So, I mean, if you want to buy one of these, I would say generally just probably don't spend too much. And you could buy these pens for between $20 and $40 on eBay if you keep an eye out. And here it is, completely collapsed. This would be like writing with a Kaweco Sport or one of those kind of smaller pens, and you can do it. It's just not very comfortable. Really what you want to do is expand it, and now you have I would say good sized pen, but not at all a huge pen. So this is the Rotring Esprit, like kind of esprit de corps would be the phrase, team spirit. So it's a fine writer. Again, it's not my favorite. I don't love the Rotring steel nibs, but I like the Rotring pen designs so much that I keep buying them, even though I tend not to find them to be the most enjoyable writers. So you got to decide for yourself how you feel about that. But this is the Rotring Esprit. You could find it on eBay and other places without too many problems. Again, you should look for it as the Parker Esprit as well. It's a very, very similar pen, but it mainly changes the design of the grip section. It becomes, I would say, a little bit uglier. But I also think Parker has some nicer color options. I think they have a really nice looking silver. And then, I don't know, I tend to be more of a Rotring geek. I know a lot of people out there tend to be more of Parker fans or Parker collectors. So make of that what you will. Here, you should be able to see that fading there. Look at it next to the clip. You can definitely see it. It's not glare. This part is definitely faded. And I guess that's probably just where I've been holding the pen and it's starting to fade a little bit. So that's too bad. It's something to keep an eye out if you are buying one of these for collecting purposes. That's pretty much it. There's not too much left to say. This is the Rotring Esprit. Nice pen. The whole telescopic thing I think is very cool and it's something I'd like to see more of, but it's hard to do well, and then it's hard to find something that's going to stand up over the test of time. You know, as the mechanisms get more complex, they tend to break more easily, and then a pen, it just won't last, you know, the 15 or 20 years or whatever that a lot of people are expecting from a pen that's going to be a sort of collector's item, or you're going to buy on the used marketplace. A lot of those pens are older. Anyway, Rotring Esprit, telescopic fountain pen. Thanks for watching.